Set. Okay, welcome everyone. I'd like to reconvene to open session. And in closed session, the board has the following items to report. First, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent president's designee, Brent Calvin, the board had a roll call vote and voted unanimously to release the grant director basic skills transformation from his appointment as an educational administrator effective at the end of the business day on June 30, 2018. This is resolution 2018-2. Second, based upon the recommendation of Superintendent President's designee Brent Calvin, the board had a roll call vote, and due to the ending of grant funding for the position, the board voted unanimously to release the Deputy Sector Navigator Advanced Manufacturing from his appointment as an educational administrator effective at the end of the business day, also on June 30, 2018. And this is resolution 2018-3. Thirdly, based upon the recommendation of Superintendent President designee Brent Calvin, the board had a roll call vote, and due to the ending grant funding for the position, voted unanimously to release the Deputy Sector Navigator Health Workforce Initiative from her appointment as an educational administrator, also effective at the end of the business day on June 30, 2018. And this is resolution 2018-04. So with that, could I ask everyone to stand and have Isabella lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just for your information, Superintendent President Stan Carrizosa has not decided to leave early, but he is and has been, I guess, out ill, and so that's the reason Mr. Calvin is up here with us for this meeting. Public comment. Per Board Policy 2350, any person may address the board at this time, either on an agenda item or other matters of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. A maximum of 5 minutes is allowed for each speaker, with a maximum time of 15 minutes per item, unless otherwise extended by the board. All right, so with that, do we have comments concerning items that are on the agenda? Apparently not. Do we have public comments concerning items not on the agenda? Yes, sir.
Just one.
Please come up and state your name, please.
Yeah. My name is Roy Kendall.
You look familiar.
I was here last week.
Okay, that's why.
And I certainly want to congratulate you and thank you all. I'll make it very, very short, very, very quick. I don't want to read anything I don't want to say anything that you can read. And so it's simply a letter requesting that COS consider adding 2 new classes, okay? And the letter is pretty self-explanatory, the classes. One class COS has had in the past. It was a class on parenting. And the second class, I don't think COS has ever had a class on, but it's a topic that is of utmost importance and may be covered in other classes. And that would be a class on cannabis. So, because what's happened recently in the state of California, as you know, we've made cannabis sales legal. We have recreational marijuana sales, right? And with that, there's this easy transition in a person's mind that if the people of California voted for it, it must be perfectly safe. And therefore, you're going to have more and more students using marijuana or cannabis, and the effects are clearly noted on the page 2 and 3 there. On the last page is there's actually 3 parts to this: the letter, the cannabis, and then an article from the Daily Mail, which you may not have seen. And I don't subscribe, but I saw this online. And I have verified their source in Canada, a woman, Natalie Broussard. It appears that this is not a fake news expert. But the idea that that shooter in Florida may have been a victim of the fetal alcohol syndrome, and that's important and is clearly spelled out in that article. So with that, I thank you very much and appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Kendall. Okay, we will take notice of that. Thank you very much for your comments. All right, we will move to next item of our agenda, a board and executive staff report, starting with Isabella's report today.
So tomorrow, Student Senate will be hosting the Extravaganza. We're going to have a virtual reality check tomorrow. There's going to be an Easter egg hunt with all the clubs, so your club ICC member and another member of their club is going to be allowed to hunt eggs for ICC points. There's also going to be, I believe, 10 to 15 informational booths and clubs out there selling food. So definitely check it out. It's open to everyone. It's going to be taking place on our Visalia campus from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're going to have the bounce houses again, and Student Senate, I think, is having cotton candy, and it's discounted if you have an ASB sticker. And then also we have our positions open for next year's executive board. So if anyone's interested in running for it, definitely do that. The packets are available in Student Senate, and several of our executive members and members in the class are interested in running for that. And this week on Thursday, Shane, Ginger, myself, and Debbie, we're going to be departing to Washington, D.C. to attend the National Leadership Conference. So next board meeting, I'll be able to report back on that. And that's all I have to report today.
All right, Washington DC, sounds like you get good weather.
Me too.
Mr. Zumwalt.
Have you been to Washington DC?
No, I haven't.
Well, enjoy.
Thank you.
Okay, board member reports, starting at my left, Mr. Zumwalt,
Nope.
Mr.
Nope.
Sherman. Mr. Mann. Nope. Nope, okay, unanimous. Foundation report, Mr. Foster.
Good evening. I have just a few items. I wanted to first extend a thank you from the COS Foundation Board to Trustee Mann for a generous donation of art. He has donated 66 signed, framed photographs that he's taken over the many years. So we appreciate that. The foundation will be utilizing those a few at a time at silent auctions at various fundraising events to help us raise resources for student success. So thank you very much, Trustee Mann, for that generous donation. I was not sure if our provost from Hanford, Kristen Robinson, was going to be announcing this, so I wanted to make sure you folks heard about the ribbon cutting at the COS Pavilion and Student Cafe. We are going to have that on April 5th, and it's from 4:30 to 5:30, and invitations will be going out this week. I also have in front of you some Alumni Association collateral materials that we've developed. So the COS Foundation is attempting to build a database of alumni through the opt-in process, rather than taking registration records and tracing those folks back from when they came through COS to where they are now. We're taking the opt-in approach and trying to build a database of approximately 1,000 names of folks that we can continue to stay in contact with and make sure that they know what's going on here at COS, and we can start building stories from their activities out there in the real world. So in front of, between Trustee Nunez and Trustee Cardoza is sort of a desktop collateral piece that we would use at point of sale and various things, so at concession stands, that type of thing. We can have these little cards. Each of you have one of the cards in front of you. This is just a way for someone to quickly go, oh, well, I'm an alum. I can grab this, find the website, and go in and register through an alumni association. So we hope to build an audience that way. We are over 500 alumni in our database at this time, so we're halfway there. to our goal of 1,000. And then as we develop that, we will see what fruits of those labors will come of that, which may cause us at a later date to invest in reaching those registration records and capturing a lot more folks and bringing them on and introducing the Alumni Association through direct mail and emailing. But that's often in the future.
If we give you our phone number, will you call us once a week like the other universities asking for donations? They're relentless. They got my cell number now.
Well, you know, they are relentless.
They call under private. I mean, they're good.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, I heard a story of a USC graduate who said, my first article of mail at the house that I just moved into was a USC alumni. So like they knew ahead of time. So obviously we're not going to be that extreme, but there is some reason why for every $100 given to higher education, community colleges gets about $100. I mean, $1. So 1/10. I mean 1/100th of all that's given.
Yeah.
So it's partly because of those efforts that we lack.
Okay.
So this is my attempt to.
The answer is yes. Darn it. You already have my phone number, though. I think I'm kind of doomed on this one.
Finally, I'm just excited to share with you that our board, the foundation board, has a board meeting on April 3rd, and we're just going to schedule a little field trip over to this COS softball field to take a look at the site improvements that have been funded through the COS Foundation over the past 3 funding cycles through the foundation project giving. We've given over $30,000 in various improvements, mostly to the padding and netting and other safety elements within that field that are both necessary from a safety standpoint, but also from a compliance standpoint from the sanctioning bodies. And then I have a whole host of upcoming events coming. It's CSF season, so we've got the CSF celebrations in Visalia, Woodlake, Tulare, and Hanford. I just want to get that Brew Fest on your calendar for August 2nd, and then of course I mentioned the pavilion. So you have the card to help get those dates into your calendars. Yes, sir.
Is there a reason you didn't have the President's Cup on there?
There is no good reason whatsoever. There is a President's Cup that Friday,
April
They
20,
only
April
put it-
27th.
27. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Trustee
They
Sherman.
You know, you might as well.
27.
You might as well throw a spear through his heart, you know.
I didn't see many golfers in the room, so anyway, thank you.
April 27th?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Accreditation report, and Dr. Lucerna
Thank you.
is ready.
Good evening, and quick update on accreditation. We are in the final stages of reviewing the institutional self-evaluation report, and it is distributed through the governance process in April and is being presented to the board in June. So we'll be going forward to District Governance Senate and Academic Senate in April. Again, our site visit is scheduled for October 1 through 4, and we're in the process of preparing logistics for our site visit right now. The strategic plan is currently in our governance process for a second read at District Governance Senate and Academic Senate, and will be presented to the board in April. And then I just provided an outline of a monthly update that we received from the ACCJC. So they're now doing kind of a monthly letter of what's happening with the ACCJC, and just highlights these 3 bullet points. One is that they hired a new contracted with a new financial review consultant, and he will be helping them refine their approach to fiscal monitoring. So we can stay tuned for what that looks like. They're also doing a monthly presidential message that talks about key aspects of their work, and so there's a link to that there. And then the final thing is that they're going to be doing an accreditation conference every other year, and so this year they won't be doing a conference, but they will be presenting, or they're asking folks to attend April 25th through 27th, a WASC senior conference. And so the information is on that, or is on there, yeah. And then we'll be moving, the next local ACCJC conference will be in 2019. So just a quick update. Any questions?
October what?
1 through 4. October 1st through 4th, 2018.
You mentioned about the financial review consultant. Is that what's referred on the?
The first bullet point under the financial review consultant, under,
Right, so are they referring to how the accreditation looks at individual districts' financial stability? Is that what?
Yes.
Not their own financial,
that's the
but
best.
how they look at us.
That's the best way that I can understand it, because they do all of, big section of standard 3, and then there's additional compliance requirements for the financial. And so I believe this is the main information that we have, but that's what he's gonna be doing, is looking at how they're monitoring agencies for the fiscal part of it.
Do they disregard our audits?
They look at our audits, that's one of the sources of evidence that we provide, but in addition to that, they require us to do a large federal checklist that actually Vice President Statton's working on now. And then we also have an annual report that's turned into them each March. One section of that is fiscal, and the other section is academic, so it's a number of sections. Do we do our student learning outcomes? So they every year monitor us fiscally, and then at the accreditation report, there's the part of standard 3, but then also a very detailed financial checklist and compliance requirements.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Superintendent President's report.
No report tonight, other than a reminder from President Carasosa that March kicks off the season in which either he or Vice President Statton, Lacerda, or I visit our feeder district school board meetings and share information about our district, as well as students from their districts who are now at the College of the Sequoias. I know oftentimes, as board members, you like to meet us there, and if he hasn't already, he'll be providing a schedule of all of those dates, because they have been confirmed.
I think you did say, at least I received one.
Yeah.
that
I
had-
You went to
yeah.
Tulare last week.
Yeah, I
Oh, I missed it.
Yep.
And tomorrow we have Hanford
My
and
son was there.
Wednesday,
My dad was
Woodlake.
there.
Yeah, when I went to the Visalia board meeting with the school board, I was thankful I was on this board.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, moving down, reports, and first on the list is Academic Senate. Dr. Trimble is here, but does not have a report today. Costa President's report, Mr. Hurst.
Thank you, President Nunes. So just briefly, today we sunshine articles for collective bargaining, and this got me thinking about the way I feel about how relationships between faculty and management and the board have changed, improved actually in recent years. And it's always been clear to me that an effective organization doesn't just happen. It grows out of collective efforts between leaders and frontline personnel. And I want to personally thank the board and management from my heart for your trust in us, that we will act with mutual respect, show dedication to, and participate in the hard work of being good stewards of public monies. Okay, so if I may, I would like to recognize as examples of the work that faculty do, the work of 4 of our professors, 2 of them recent hires, who illustrate the quality of our faculty and their commitment. And I want to do a shout out to Sarah Harris for compiling this list. Catherine Medrano in sociology was the recipient of the 2017 Online Learning Consortium Digital Learning Innovation Award for advancing undergraduate student success through the adoption of digital courseware. COS was one of 3 institutions selected from among 60 submissions in this year's award competition, or last year's. Randy Emery in welding was featured along with the district's welding program in the May 2017 issue of the American Welding Society's National Journal. Professor Emery is also the district's first academic Senate CTE liaison. And he's chairman of the Central Valley section of the AWS, and a wonderful guy to talk to. I really enjoy all my conversations with him. Matt Beret in mathematics received the 2017 Excellence in Teaching Award from the California Mathematics Council. And finally, Judy House Menezes in journalism was named Outstanding Community College Journalism Educator of the Year by the California Journalism and Media Affiliates Council in 2017. So this is just a few, actually, of many honors. But aside from these honors, I also wish to mention the extraordinary faculty hours devoted to accreditation and to governance under our new system. The effort it takes to do such work and still maintain the quality of our teaching is something the institution should be proud of. We appreciate being here. We love our students. And because we know that you share those values with us, we look forward to productive discussions reaffirming the commitment of all involved to the health and success of our institution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Hurst, thank you for that information and comments. And I happen to recall the article on Mr. Emery. I happened to see that. I don't know how, I think maybe it was provided to us.
It got emailed to us, yep.
But yeah, we certainly agree. All right, CSEA report, Mr. Lamar is here.
Quickly, first I would like to congratulate President-elect Calvin. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Also, thank you, Earl, for your many years of service. And I presented him with tickets tonight because he called in. Bullets of Broadway, our Big Spring musical, is opening this Friday, so we hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamar. Dr. Erickson is here on behalf of COSAFA.
Good evening, and also congratulations to you, and also to everyone else. I can't imagine how well Dr. Lacerna, John, and Kristen may have slept after the interviewing process was over. What I wanted to say is that we have also sunshined our agreement for bargaining, and one of the things that we would hope with the adjunct faculty bargaining team that we might be able to do it early before the school year ends, because we have people who are off contract as of finals week in May. And so I hope that we can do it rather quickly, and it was a very, very good process last time, so we look forward to that. And also to the board, thank you that we had 80 faculty members who applied for office hours out of the 300 that teach each semester, and all of them were granted office hours, and that's thanks to your extension of those funds for all of our faculty. Thank you very much.
That's very positive note. Okay. We will move on to, well, we have two information items on the agenda today. And the first is the above base resource allocations for 2017-18. And Christine Staton is going to sub for Mr. Carrizosa.
I'm going to cover for President Carrizosa. And first I'll say I'm working with our facilities operations manager to try and cool it down in here now because it was too cold. And he says he's on it. But anyway, we're shooting for 4 degrees cooler. We'll see if that works. So bringing to you as information every year as part of our integrated planning, this is the program review resource allocation step. So there's other resource allocations obviously that occur, and there's budget development, but we also do our above base resource allocation once a year, and it primarily comes from program review requests, various departments and divisions, and goes to budget committee for the initial ranking process. It's a pretty rigorous ranking process with a rubric, and we work very hard at that at budget committee. And as a result this year, after that is prioritized by budget committee, it goes to district governance senate, and they are able to possibly change or reprioritize, but they approved it this year as is. And then the president can also adjust, but it has come forward in the same manner to you. We had 20 requests approved this year, and we are awarding a total of almost $260,000. We budget for $250,000, but sometimes they don't cut off exactly there. Our last two, number 19 and 20, were tied in their ranking, so we wanted to grant both of those. I just realized I'm not speaking into the microphone. Hopefully you can hear me. And so from this list of 20, you can see items ranging from $700 up to $60,000. And they really are worthy causes. There's always a lot of strong backup documentation and data that comes with these requests, and they align them to our district goals and objectives, and if not those specifically, very closely to their department and division outcomes. And it's a great process, I think. So there were quite a few, 14 requests that fell below our availability of funding, and those have been forwarded to the foundation for possible funding there as well. So it's here for information. Any questions?
What's an interlocking audience platforming?
I could try and explain. I know, but you might do a better job explaining.
They are
Just for information.
platforms that we use on stage when we do audience seating on stage, and it's a safety thing. But these are from Benger, who makes our choral shells and choir stands. And so they're 4x8s, and they stack on top of each other and provide safe seating for the audience on stage, or any other staging we want. Very much like what Tim and I went out and bought with the foundation, the staging we use out on campus, so they can also be used for that.
Okay, got it.
Portable.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
What's a Videx key?
That is, yeah, those are our keys, and
Electronic keys.
our police department issues our keys and oversees who they've been assigned to. And sometimes they just go bad or get old, and we need to replenish those, so they didn't have a budget to
Well, what is
replenish.
it?
What's that?
What's it do?
Oh, it opens all our doors. It's,
One key opens every door.
Yeah, it's programmed on a computer, and each door is programmed also.
So you can program that so you can't get in certain doors, for example?
yes.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah, to Larry's all Videx. Okay.
Only
Steve,
your office.
He got very limited programming.
Doesn't even let me in the theater anymore.
All right, Dr. Trimble is moving towards the podium for the report on the 2017 evaluation of institutional program review. Item 2.
Good evening. Last year, we came and presented a review of how well our new institutional program review was going, and we're going to give you an update on that tonight. But I wanted to start with the last slide that I showed you last year. Part of our planning process is it's all about what we keep calling closing the loop. And the idea behind closing the loop is you have these action plans, and then you come back and you look at them to see whether or not you achieve them. So these were our recommendations going forward from last year. We would change our training sections to be topic focused. We'd have specific training for data analysis. We'd explain the purpose of program review, because we were seeing a lot of new people come into program review who had never done it before. Additional training for the deans, since the dean's job is to review the program review before it goes forward. We also wanted to train people on how to develop actions that can actually be completed within 1 year, because again, our planning process is a yearly process, and we were seeing a lot of actions that were giant and weren't going to be able to be done within a year. We wanted to make sure that the assessment data was uploaded into program review, and we wanted to train people on how to evaluate their assessment cycles, not just the data. So how have we done? So what we've done is we have developed focused training. We have a training module just on program review and overview. We have one on program review logistics, that is how to actually enter your program review into TrackDat. We have a training module on data analysis. This year we specifically talked about how to use the data in program review to make a faculty request. We have a module on how to use program review audit to improve program review, and how the role of outcomes and assessments in program review. So basically these focused trainings completed items 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. And in addition to that, we provided additional training to all of the deans at a dean's meeting, which completed item 4. So we've closed our loop. As you'll recall, we conduct a program review survey of the entire district personnel. This survey goes out after October 15th, since that's the due date for program reviews. And it's designed to give the program review committee a user perspective. So what do people think who actually have to do this? You'll see that there was 166 responses this last year. That's an improvement. Year before that, we only had 129. So we're hopeful that this means that more people are involved in actually doing the program review. We don't know that, but that would be a nice thought. The results of our survey were also encouraging. The program review process is easy to follow. It's currently at 76%. So that's this one. That's that they agree with that statement. That actually is a decrease. Last year that was at 85, so it dropped almost 10%. But I'll point out kind of an interesting thing about that. The second statement was the program review process required little effort to complete. That's nearly identical. Those percentages didn't change year over year, so there's about 50-50 basically. And finally, the last statement, the process of program review is beneficial to my program. Last year it was 83, this year it's 85%. We're really happy with that. That 85% of the people who participate in program review feel that it's beneficial to their program. I had an occasion to talk about this survey with Eva Conrad last month, and you'll recall that Eva was our consultant when we were redoing our planning, and she said she was so happy she could cry, that how far we've come with this. The next thing we looked at is we asked people for the specific sections of program review to say whether or not it was easy or difficult to complete. So the first section is a section called Strengths and Weaknesses, where they basically talk about what's strong in their program or what areas they need to improve. The ease of that actually increased. It's 91%. 91% of the respondents think that it's relatively easy to complete that section. That's an improvement. Last year it was only 86%. Well, 86 I was happy with, so it's even better. Outcomes and assessment, also very easy. That's now 75%. Last year it was only 58%. So that's also showing an improvement. The ability to fill out their actions, that improved from 74% to 80%. Resource requests improved from 66% to 71%. And updates improved from 79% last year to 85% this year. Interestingly, I pointed out last time that we actually had a decrease in the percentage of people this year that thought the process was easy to follow. And yet all of these areas, easy to do, actually went up. Yeah. So we're not quite sure about that disconnect between those two. In this next one, we looked at how they felt about participation within their units. So if you have a unit that's more than one person, how many people were involved? And interestingly, what happened is we had movement to fairly. So you had very fairly, the workload was distributed fairly, unfairly, and very unfairly. And what happened is very fairly reduced, unfairly reduced, and very unfairly reduced, and it all went to fairly. So it's fairly well distributed. So we're good with that. So we saw, it's dropped a little bit from very fairly, but that it's fairly produced. That's a pretty good sign, especially the very unfairly almost disappeared. It was actually 20%. Last time. So that was a good thing. All right. Next is, was the instruction manual helpful? And again, very helpful actually saw a decrease, but somewhat helpful saw an increase, and likely slightly helpful also saw a decrease. So basically it's moving towards the center. So it's becoming more of more centralized in the results. So again, we're pretty pleased with that. We do our training sessions, and recall that one of our goals was to have more training and focused training. We offered 14 different training sections in the spring and 2 in the fall. They were offered on all 3 campuses. We had 83 attendees that actually signed in. So 83 people participated. The best attended training sessions were the fall. After the training sessions, the people who signed up and attended receive a survey so that we get immediate feedback on our training sections. And so that the people who went to training, 94% said that there was enough training. That's an increase of 10% over last year. We covered all aspects. It's now 83. Last year it was 74%, so again, almost a 10% increase. Did you attend a training? Interestingly, went down. It was 63% last year. It dropped to 50% this year. We're not sure why. It could very well be that it's a question of, since more people went to training last year, they don't feel they have to come back this year. So we're not quite sure why that happened.
Is that something you agree with, or in other words, is that true, you think, that they wouldn't necessarily need to go if they went last year?
I think that we haven't really changed anything in program review, so if they went to the training and they were comfortable with how it went, yeah, I don't really see the need that they would have to go back each time. What could happen is they could have one section that they have some difficulty with and have to come back. A lot of times we get people that are first timers because as within a unit, it gets allocated to a different person to do, and so that they then have to come in and get the training. Another thing that the Institutional Program Review Committee does is we perform we call an audit. And we randomly select 15 program review units, and our committee members go through them with an audit rubric and see whether or not we think that the program reviews are adequate. That is, that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. The audit rubric is included in the instruction manual, and it's actually the training that we gave to the deans, is how to use that audit rubric to make sure that their program reviews are adequate. So everybody has access to that to see how well it's going. So the audit is from the committee perspective on how well we think it's going. I need to
Dr.
apologize.
Trimble?
Yeah.
Is this a group that
Does the audit?
Is that the group that came up with the findings that you alluded to in your very first slide, those findings?
Yes, that's the committee. That's the
Okay.
Institutional Program Review Committee. We
Right.
perform the audits.
Right.
Yeah, and so each program review audit is done by a minimum of 2 different committee members and sometimes 3. So that you have some checks and balances internally as well. I need to apologize, I forgot to update these numbers. So these are not the current numbers, these are from last year. The first one is agreed that the unit's clearly stated outcomes. That's pretty much the same. But the second one noted that the audit found that the strengths of the unit contributed to institutional effectiveness. This is one of the directions they're given, that as they go through the strengths of their program, they're supposed to discuss how it contributes to institutional effectiveness. This actually was a decrease. Last year in our audits, we found that 83% of the units we audited did that. This time it had dropped to 74%. So we saw a reduction in that. For the next 2, it has to do with the use of data. We were very concerned last year that these were so low. 53% of us agreed that the units used the data. 41% agreed that the data was used to support their conclusions and their plans. And again, as we all like to point to, data is central to our planning. So if we're not seeing adequate data use and data analysis in our program reviews, eventually that will become a more significant problem. So the interesting thing is the second bullet point went down, but we did see improvement over data usage. Last year it was 53%, this year it increased to 63%. So we saw a 10% better use of data. And for using data to support their conclusions and plans, that increased from that 41% to 57%. So again, we saw a substantial increase, which to us means that our training is working. is that people are coming to get trained, and that's helping. We're glad of that increase. It's still not enough. So it's something that we're going to continue to work on. So in conclusion, our recommendations for our committee going forward is based on attendance. We're going to move more of our training sections to the fall. We wanted them in the spring, thinking that we wanted people to get thinking about this sooner, because when they come back to school, you come back, you're really, really busy, and all of a sudden, October 15th is there and it's due. But they're not coming to get trained. And the fall sections were packed. I mean, they were packed. So we're going to move more of our training into the fall. The spring training will have a couple, but they're going to be the general overview kinds of things, where in the fall we'll do the hands-on, how do you do this part, how do you do that part. We will be taking forward to the governance groups, Academic Senate and District Governance Senate, the end of this month, the proposal to change the data metrics. All program review changes have to be agreed to by the Senates. So currently we have 2 data metrics that every academic unit has to do. And that's enrollment by head count and success. So they have to look at those numbers over, Dolly, is it 3 years or 5? 3 years. 3 years. And then talk about, what they see in that data. So what we're going to propose changing is we're going to add a 3rd metric, and that's efficiency. So how efficient is their program? We're going to request that we change the enrollment from head count to FTES. And we're only going to automatically upload the top 5 enrolled courses in each unit. Some units have a huge number of classes, but some of them are fairly low enrolled, and it gets to be very difficult to do. We're also going to have on the data pages that are automatically uploaded links so that they can go get the same data for other courses if it isn't in the top 5. They're just going to have to do that legwork to go follow that link to that data. Another thing we've been working on, and we're near completion, is we have created a Canvas course. So a fully online course for program review, and we've been developing PowerPoints, and we'll be having our training sessions videotaped, and we're uploading that into Canvas. So any member across the district, once this is complete, will have access to this Canvas through their universal login. So if they're in the middle of the night working on their program review and they forget what they have to do for an action, they can go and they can look at that training section and go through the PowerPoint, or actually just listen to our presentations in the training. We're in the process of working with the TRACDAT work group, Kristen Robinson, to modify some of our prompts for clarity. There's some parts of it that are very confusing when you have to pick start dates, end dates, and it makes a problem for reporting things out and consistency. And then based on the changes that are approved, both in the data metrics as well as what happens with the TRACDAT prompts, we have to modify our manual, our instruction manual. Any questions?
Any other questions?
No, I just remember 5 years, or at least 5, 4 or 5.
Yep.
And I think you kind of envision this day coming. Am I
Yeah.
correct to say that this is kind of where you wanted to be?
This is where we want to be.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, good. Congratulations.
Good to hear.
It's been a huge.
Thank you. All right, very good. Okay, that moves us to the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. An item may be removed from the consent calendar at the request of any member of the Board of Trustees or any person in the audience and considered as a separate agenda item. Do we have any items on the consent calendar that anyone would like to pull? If not, then I would entertain a motion for the approval of the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for approval of consent calendar. Is there any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, none. Motion carried. Okay, moving on to action items, curriculum. Dr. Lucerna,
Good evening again.
item 9.
We have, I have the curriculum report in front of you, and again, this is a reminder that these are courses and programs that have been through our curriculum process and have been approved by the Curriculum Committee and the Academic Senate, and they're coming here with the recommendation that the board approve this. And it's a little bit longer report today because this is the last opportunity for courses and programs to make the printing of our, well, not the printing, but the publication of our catalog. It's an online catalog. And so you have a few newer, or a few more this time. So I'll just walk through the pages with you. We start with new courses. And on page 1, we have a new course in our communications program, 3 in our fashion program, and 1 in our advanced industrial maintenance program. That's a new program that we have. Page 2, we have 2 more courses for the new advanced industrial maintenance certificate, and 1 adding to the associate degree for transfer in political science. Following that, on the bottom of page 2, we have modifications to ag technology, to AJ, Administration of Justice. And the first one has a unit change. The others, these are all for basically under their 5-year review, and there's some advisories, course description changes, and adding distance learning addendums. Page 3 are all modified courses. Again, several in Administration of Justice, updating 5-year review for outcomes, and a couple of minor other changes. And then also in Anthropology. Page 4, we have Architecture, Animal Science, and Business and Consumer Family Studies. We have 2 courses, the Animal Science, both of the equine having a unit change. And when we do a unit change, just so you know that we also change the content of the course changes as well. So they're to make sure that the content represents the changes in the hours spent on the course. These are all 5-year reviews, and as well as the Consumer Family Studies course. Page 5, we have also all modifications to current courses in chemistry, communication, and our English as a Second Language program. We're reactivating those beginning level ESL courses. On page 6, we've been updating all of the fashion program, and so you have 3 more modified courses in fashion. 1 in human development, that's a unit change as well. And then our library, learning skills, and nursing are 5-year reviews, updating course descriptions, and some minor content. Page 7 is the last of the modifications to courses. We have nursing, PE, and physics, and welding, and these are also all 5-year reviews, minor changes in course content and descriptions. The next section, we have a new associate degree for transfer in child and adolescent development. On page 8, we have a new associate of science degree for information communication technology, and two programs that are modifications which are up for 2-year review in ornamental horticulture and welding. So the recommendation is that the board approve this report. Any questions?
Is this when we approve it now, doesn't have to go to the state anymore? This is the process?
On the courses, yes.
Okay. I move we approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the curriculum report. Comments or questions?
Just an observation, political science 107.
Yes.
It'd be tough to be a faculty member without being criticized by somebody or everybody. How does that course, does it have a fixed, sort of a fixed curriculum, or is it, how is that, how does that present it?
Every course has a course outline of record that includes everything that you have, that's required to be presented in the course. So there's course topics, There's student learning outcomes, there are course objectives, and all of those are uniform no matter who's teaching it. And as well as textbooks, there's required textbooks and then textbooks that can be vary. But they all follow the exact same course outline of record. Depending on who's teaching it, the syllabus might change, but the main content and the required student learning outcomes remain the same.
I'd be interested. Can I take the course?
Yes, you can. You can audit it for $15.
Perfect.
You don't even have to get it on your transcript.
I'd be better off if I didn't. Thank you. I'm ready for a question.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, that will move us to item 10, Adult Basic Education Grant Resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. You'll recall that in 2015, legislation required all providers of adult education to partner with their local community college district to carry out that mission. In response to that, the district partnered with all of our feeder districts that offer adult ed or wanted to start offering adult ed, and we formed the Sequoias Adult Education Consortium. Again, that was in 2015. It has been very successful. For the 2016-17 school year, we were able to serve 1,400 College of the Sequoias students, including over half those in our ESL non-credit program. And several of our feeder districts have reported being able to gain back and actually increase the amount of adult ed courses they could provide even before the budget crunch of 08, 09, when most of our feeder districts lost or seriously reduced their adult ed offerings. So at this point, our district-wide coalition of adult ed providers is requesting that all districts provide a letter of support in the form of a resolution that will be kind of gathered together and sent to the governor, because we put a whole lot of work into this. It is working well, and we don't want to see funding reduced. In fact, we'd like to see it increased over subsequent years, and this is a big budget year to ensure that that happens. So together with our consortium, we're recommending that the board pass resolution 2018-05 in support of adult education in the K-12 system.
Is this the consortium that, it was Stan the kind of the leader, or for the lack of a better term, of
Yes.
this?
Stan and Dr. Clegan from Tulare Unified, before she left the district, sat as co-chairs on this consortium. They have not replaced the K-12 co-chairs yet, so currently Stan sits as the chair, pending another co-chair.
Brent,
Questions?
are many of the colonies participating in this?
Yes, they are. Woodlake and Exeter, Orosi, I'm assuming you mean at least those three. I believe Farmersville as well.
That make you happy?
Hmm?
That makes you happy, doesn't it?
No.
No?
All right, do we have a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the adoption of resolution 2018-05. Is there any further discussion on this item? If not, would you please poll the board?
Trustee Zumwalt?
Aye.
Trustee Cardoza?
Aye.
Trustee Mann?
Aye.
Trustee Sherman?
Aye.
Trustee Newman?
Aye. Resolution 2018-05 is unanimously adopted. Number 11, Guided Pathways Plan.
Good evening.
So here we go. Dr. Robinson.
As you may remember, when Chancellor Oakley took office, he created the Vision for Success, And from that, the California Community College Pathway Program is a multi-year statewide program designed to provide all colleges with the opportunity to implement guided pathways. And that's for $150 million statewide. We had looked at this and had a lot of conversations. Guided Pathways is 14 key elements based on national research that supports student success. So we knew that there was money available, and so we entered into the conversation. As we started talking, we sent a task force comprised of faculty and administrators to the statewide guided pathway workshop. And from that, we decided that we were going to participate. It became very clear very early on through the self-assessment process, which was due in December, that many of the 14 key elements revolved around student success, equity, growth, and sustainability. Imagine that. So it became clear that rather than doing the work outside of our daily work, it made sense to tie it into what we were doing on a daily basis. So from that, the task force agreed that it would be best to kind of hand it over to the strategic planning or strategic task force for the 2018-2021 strategic task force. So we asked those members to be mindful of the 14 key elements that we had that are part of the guided pathways as they were building their actions for the 2018-21 strategic plan. And while the Guided Pathways Task Force remains involved, we feel that at College of the Sequoias we've had a larger constituency buy-in because those key elements have been talked about at each of the strategic planning task force groups and within the institution as a whole. So what does that mean for COS? It means a little over $350,000 for the next 5 years to do the work that we already were planning to do in our 2018-21 strategic plan.
That sounds good.
We know that that's only one-time funds, but it allows us to do some things and tie some pieces together that we have not been able to do, or that we can do more easily with money. So what we've done is take the district objectives, which if you're looking at this sheet, if you look at the district objectives, they're down the side. Those are our 2018-21 district objectives, and within that, the actions are 1.1.1, which many of you have participated in those conversations. With that, we have tied those to the 14 key elements as the state defines them and as are defined by the national research. Across the top, you'll see in progress or early adoption. Those were self-identified labels. We had the option of either pre-adoption, early adoption, scaling in progress, and full scale that came very clearly with what the expectations were for each one of those. Those were identified at the self-evaluation level. And now we are asking, how do we move that needle from in progress to full scale, or from early adoption to scaling in progress? And we believe we're going to do that through the actions in our 2018-21 strategic plan. So what we've done is tie our new actions to our 14 guided pathway elements, and the plan comes together very nicely. So we are asking for your approval tonight to move forward with this working plan. We realize that this is a working plan. The state realizes that, and all that we can do is set the expectations that we will be able to move those needles in those 14 elements, and then come back and report out next year. We are taking this a little bit out of sequence because of the timing. The template came available the beginning to mid-February, and the actual template became available to us today. And so while you have a copy of the most recent plan, working plan, the work that we're doing will not change, as that is what the actions are. It might change based on the the eventual acceptance of the strategic plan actions. If something gets changed a little bit, but we know that that is working, we can work through that. So tomorrow it goes to district governance, and Wednesday it goes to academic senate, and it's due March 30th.
So we're assuming that they're gonna approve it once we approve it, but it's subject to,
Right. They have all those constituencies. It's been to academic senate and got in district governance senate in terms of when the strategic plan went before them at the last meetings. So we believe that it won't be an issue.
It's been presented a couple of different times, both when we were doing a self-assessment, and then after the self-assessment, when this first iteration came out, and then when the strategic plan came 2 weeks ago, we brought it again to point out to people how we're tying the strategic plan to the guided pathways, and that there was money attached to it, so that they needed to pay attention to it. And I believe that everybody really feels that, you know, faculty, administrators, we've all had a seat at the table, so I think they're fairly comfortable with it.
how do you see you using the $350,000?
That is still up for discussion. It will be working its way through the task force, and in terms of what priorities are. There is some available money that we are doing some of these actions already through general funds, triple SP money, equity, and in the actual draft plan, you will see each action has money that has been established that we've used in the past. And so we see this as supplementing that on a one-time basis, or a 5-year one-time basis.
Dr. Robinson, the 350 you alluded to, is that total for the 5
No,
years?
each-
Annually,
and it's
annually
about
for
that, right?
5 years?
Yeah, I'm trying to, I want to say it's
It's
1.369 million
Okay,
total.
all right.
And next year it's 350 perhaps this year, next year.
Right,
it's a
change.
little
Okay,
more
I
than
just
that,
wanted
right?
to
Bounces
be
around.
clear that
No, it's,
And what was presented to the Senate at the last meeting from the President's office was that for the funding, the task force would make recommendations on the prioritization of where that money goes, since those people had been the most involved in the training of what Guided Pathways is, and the most involved, and they're more likely to be able to see where we could best move the needle. So they'll make the recommendations and the prioritizations of where the money would go within the plan.
So the money has to be spent on the plan.
well,
I mean, it
So-
can't be used,
Yes.
diverted somewhere else,
No.
right?
I think in the spirit of, in what we're doing, I believe it will be used.
But again, because we're aligning all 14 of these key elements to our strategic plan, when we spend money in support of these key elements in the plan, we're spending money in support of our strategic plan as well, whether it's training or what have you. They're so closely linked that spending money on the plan is spending money on our strategic plan as well.
So it's kind of a win-win, really.
It is.
Yes.
So I may have missed this at the beginning, but I'm, just so I understand it real quick. So this was given to you, this rubric already?
Correct.
I don't know what.
This
The
one?
14
This was
across the
given
top.
to you?
Yes.
Well,
I was kind of looking at it
14
as you were
key elements,
talking.
yeah, the
The
14
key elements, and then
elements
you put in our strategic plan
and how
elements
they
on this
tie
side.
Our
together.
actions, yeah, we took
Got
the
it.
actions and did them down the left-hand side, and we showed, basically, we just developed this crosswalk, Dr. Robinson did.
Right.
And it's helped all of us visualize how we can use guided pathways as an overlay for what we're currently doing in our strategic plan.
Without redoing it. So do you think most institutions, though, these will be just new things? Or
We
what
have
will they use here?
we have been to statewide meetings, and I believe we're the only ones, everyone
thought of this?
sees it and says, wow, you're already doing the work, because rather than getting another group of people together to have these
Yeah, because I
conversations.
spoke with Jennifer about this, but seeing the chart now, it makes more sense to me than just talking
Yeah.
about it.
Right.
The
So
chart
now
really
this makes
helps.
more sense.
And when you look at this
Putting it
sheet,
together.
I don't know if you have a colored version.
Yeah, ours is
For
not
those of
colored.
us who are visual learners, we like this one, some of us don't. But this helps explain, these are each of those key elements that are tied here under the 4 goals. So you'll see that we have, this whole guided pathway is about success and equity. A little bit about growth we're tying in, because we know that if our students are more successful, and then sustainability. So we hope that it ties it all together in terms of what we're doing on a daily basis.
So this one ties This one ties the 14 key elements and guided pathways to our 4 goals within our master plan: growth, success, equity, and sustainability. Whereas this other document that you were just alluding to ties the 14 key elements to our strategic plan, the actual actions within our strategic plan, the stuff we do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and there's duplications, and I can see why, because they have different things. Okay, yeah, I'm the visual learner. The color one makes way more sense than this one. Okay, understood.
Kristen, I should have listened more carefully before we started, but did you say that we're doing things a little out of order, and you're actually bringing it to the board before you finish making it to the various groups?
They have already all seen the groups, but because of the way the meetings fell, we had to bring it here today because it's due March 30th.
And see if we're going to lose the money. Well, okay, but I also am a little leery of ignoring CWES 2.0 and all that.
But
If we approve this, subject to the approval of those 2 committees, will that hurt you in any way?
And the only reason we did it this way is because we didn't have.
Oh, I get that, but I also.
We didn't have the forms.
I also don't want somebody to feel that 2.0 is not important. And I also don't want somebody next month, next year, somebody, well, you did it before.
Right.
Well, okay, maybe when they have $1.3 million attached to it.
You better follow the guidelines, the
So,
timelines.
but anyway, I just want to know if a motion came subject to the approval of the remaining committees, that doesn't mess you up in Sacramento?
Nope.
Doesn't endanger the money?
Nope.
All right.
Okay, well, I think with the way I think what you've done is a smart way of, the way you've approached it is a smart way to.
A lot of people have had
to
hands
do
in
it.
it.
So, yeah, when I say you, I mean everybody that had a hand in it. So, Isabella, please.
I think also too that the high schools are implementing the guided pathways. A lot of them have that, and if they haven't had it, they're implementing it with the academies. And I think that it's transitional. I'm not sure if they're in the same category. I guess that would be my question. Are they the same?
That's a sticky subject.
It is, because guided pathways, that's the new term that we seem to be using in a lot of different areas right now. And so this guided pathways is a little bit different. One of the key elements is to align with the high school for dual enrollment and for career pathways, but there's a lot of other pieces in this that aren't necessarily what they define pathways as. But good
So the money
question.
that the high schools, that K through 12 is getting isn't in this same initiative?
No.
No.
This is 150 million just for community colleges.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
Make your motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve it subject to the approval, the likewise approval of the remaining defined committees.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for the approval of the plan as described by Mr. Zumwalt. Any additional discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, very good. Mr. Bratch has the remainder of the agenda, so he will have the podium for the next 1, 2, 3, 4 items. First 3 being reopeners, starting with Costa.
My favorite time of the year. The basketball tournament going on this week and recruiting or negotiating season begins.
March Madness.
That's the definition of March Madness.
Tonight's.
And they said you didn't have a sense of humor.
Every once in a while.
They were right.
Tonight begins the first part of the negotiating season by sunshining the reopener bargaining proposals by both sides. And tonight in front of you, you're going to have reopener proposals from COSTA, CSEA, and CASAFA, as well as the districts. I'll go starting down with COSTA. We're finalizing year 2 of our 3-year agreement with COSTA. However, entering into the 18-19 school year, both sides have the option of opening up salary as well as 2 articles Both sides have elected to open up negotiations and would like to commence negotiations as soon as the sunshine process is over. Tonight, I would ask that you acknowledge receipt of both the district's and Costa's sunshine proposal, as well as announce that our availability in the Office of Human Resources Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 for the public to review. And finally, to announce that there will be a public hearing which will give the public an opportunity to comment on both of these sunshine proposals. This hearing will take place on April 9th of this year.
All right.
I make a motion of what he said.
Second.
Motion and a second for the acknowledgement of receipt of the Costa and district proposal with public hearing at the next board meeting. Additional discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Lucky 13.
Yes. As with Costa, we are in reopener negotiations with CSEA this upcoming year. We just concluded year one of our 3-year contract with CSEA, but for the 2018-2019 academic year, both sides had the option of opening up salary, health and welfare benefits, as well as 2 additional articles. Both sides have elected to begin a negotiation, so at this time, as with Costa, I would ask that you acknowledge receipt of these reopener bargaining proposals, announce their availability for the public to review in the Office of Human Resources, Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, and then finally, schedule a public hearing on these sunshine proposals at the April 9th, 2018 Board of Trustees meeting.
So moved.
Second. Boy, you're quick tonight, boy.
We have a motion and a second for the reopener proposals with the CSEA group and also with the public hearing to be held at the next board meeting. Any additional discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Item number 14 is the same, this time with our Adjunct Faculty Association, CASAFA. We are finalizing year number 2 of a 3-year contract with CASAFA, and both sides have the option of opening up salary as well as only 1 additional article for this upcoming school year. Both sides, again, have elected to begin reopener negotiations, but first we must go through the sunshine proposal. This time I would ask the board to acknowledge receipt of both sunshine proposals from CASAFA as well as the district. Also announce the availability for the sunshine proposals to be reviewed in the Office of Human Resources Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. And finally, to schedule a public hearing on April 9th, 2018 at the Board of Trustees meeting in which the public will have an opportunity to comment on these reopener bargaining proposals.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for the reopener proposals on behalf of COSAFA, again with public hearing at the next board meeting. Any additional discussion? If not, Mr. Mann?
Yes, I want to make a little bit of comment about CASAFA. The organization basically that keeps this college financially afloat. These people work hard. I was one of them at one time, and I know their responsibility is a lot like that of a regular full-time teacher, but they are getting paid that much compared to that much. And I would like to see a little more consideration and a little more recognition of our adjunct faculty. They do so much for the students. I think the students get as good of an education as they do during the day. And I am going to leave it up to you 4 people, and hopefully you'll do something for these people.
Oh, so now you're talking like that.
I've talked about it for,
Sounds a little like a threat.
Dr. Erickson smiling
I've
there.
talked about it for
I
17
know.
years and have had very little response.
Okay. I think we were ready to take a vote.
And
weren't
that's
we?
his parting words.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Earl. All right, John, last item on the agenda is item 15, approval of employment agreement between the district and Superintendent President-elect, as somebody referred to you as.
Designee.
Designee.
I would like to congratulate Mr. Calvin on being named our new superintendent. I'm very honored to present this next item, and that is Mr. Calvin's employment agreement.
Okay.
And before any employment agreement is officially concluded, it must be approved by the board. So this employment agreement by the district and Mr. Calvin needs to be approved by this board. So I would ask that the board review this contract and formally approve it.
I move we approve.
Second.
We have I'm sorry. It's been moved and second for the approval of the contract referred to by Mr. Bratch, which has been posted as part of our board agenda. Is there any additional comments and discussion?
I want to, for the record, we all have reviewed it. So, I mean, you said to review, take the time to review it, but we've already reviewed it in closed session today, so just wanted to explain that.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions or discussion? Motion?
I think that we already had a
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry, we had a motion.
It's
been.
Now vote.
Almost died for lack of first.
I'm
Red's getting nervous, would you hurry?
I'm getting notes from here, I can't keep track of everything. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay. All right, just a couple of clarification. Earl, you're coming back, you have one more meeting, correct?
This is it.
This is it?
Yep.
I was, I think, misunderstood. I thought we had one more meeting with you.
No,
And so,
I'm flying the coop.
all right. Listen, I would, on behalf of, and I open it up to anyone else on the board, but Earl, I would like to thank you for the guidance and the help that you've given me while I've been a board member. You've been here on the board when I first came on the board, and you were always very welcoming and helpful to me. And so I hope that your move to Tennessee to be close to your family works out well, as I know it will. And you've been a very strong advocate for the constituency that you represent over towards the east side of the valley. And so those folks, I hope, come up with someone to fill your spot that does as good a job as you have done these many years on the board.
You know, my understanding, and I agree, Earl, I appreciate the time. You got first elected, I think, in 2000, wasn't it? 2000?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've enjoyed my time with you too, Earl.
Earl, I want to say thank you as well, and my first memories of you sitting on this board, I think I got just as much advice from you as I did from your wife. Earl's wife
She
was.
could give it.
Earl's wife was by far one of the greatest ambassadors for this college. She loved this college. She spoke highly of it all the time, and not only did she support Earl, but she was kind of a quasi board member. She truly took her roles very serious. So thank you, Earl, for all that you've done for me, and also I know your wife isn't with us, but I cherish my memories with her as well, and she guided me along the way too and gave me a lot of really good advice. So thanks, Earl. And we wish you well. We know you'll miss us, but we think you'll be back every now and then.
That I will.
Yeah, Earl, you know, you and I, you have been part of some really tough decisions over the years that no one will ever know about but the board members themselves. And without getting real specific, I really appreciate on the tough decisions, your thought, your willingness to study the issues over a long period of time, and to have the backbone to stick up for them. And you and I have not always been on the same page, but I've admired your backbone the whole way. Earl, I'm going to miss you, I really will. In a lot of respects, you've been kind of a conscience sometimes. You have a perspective that's different than the rest of us, and and it shows sometimes when you remind us of things we should have thought of. And good luck to you. I guess it's your daughter's gain and our loss.
Earl, I hope that the plaque that we have coming arrives before you hop on the moving van. And so we'll get that to you, but I hope I'm not giving away public property when I tell you that for you to take your nameplate with PIN, and if it is, then I'd be happy to pay for it. Okay, thank you all for being here, and meeting is adjourned.
Does Earl have anything to say? We should give him a few minutes.
All of my fellow board members. It's been an honor to serve the college. It was a very, very tough decision I had to make, and daughters won out, but the largest probably consideration I had to make was leaving this position and leaving the friends I have made over the years at the college. But I can say I'm leaving it in very, very good hands, and probably the best condition this college has ever been in. From our staff, teachers, custodians, administration, fellow board members, they, I'm sure, will continue to do the excellent job they have. And I would like to leave the thought that I've done something for the colonies, and I continually remind them there are other schools outside of Isaiah Tiller in Hanford. And I have to continually remind them of that sometime, but they're real good to put up with me. And I think our choice for our new president, I feel very good about leaving him in command, but I feel even better about Megan being in charge and really running things. These guys can sit in their office, but if you want to know something, that's the lady to know. And as I say, I've developed some very close friendships, and I'll probably come back out and harass you. You guys may see me sitting out there in the audience one Monday night. And
we hope so.
But I feel we have probably the strongest administration we've ever had at this point. I've been through 5 presidents, and not all of them have been good, to be honest with you.
You
But,
mean board presidents?
He said you board presidents.
But like John said,
4 of us here.
John and I disagree to disagree sometimes, but I highly respect John. I value his opinions, and he has been an excellent board member longer than I have. So I think Lori will move up now to the second rank there. And I look back on things that I did as a board member, and one of them was when I nominated Lori to replace Devin. And she's been an excellent board member. So, and it's been a pleasure serving all of you, and I will continue to keep in touch. When you win the NCAA National Championship in basketball,
Okay, we're adjourned again.